Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our CEQA filing fee webinar. We're really glad you could join us today. My name is Melanie Day, and I'm a Senior Environmental Scientist Specialist at the Department of Fish and Wildlife in the Sacramento Habitat Conservation Planning Branch CEQA program. Joining me today to help with this presentation are Ryan Mathis, he's a supervisor in our program, and Lauren Poland, who's a scientific aide and really helped put this whole thing together. So thank you very much for that, Lauren. So there are counties from all across the state joining this presentation. And so folks that are watching, your counterparts north, south, east, and west are on the phone too. So I think that's pretty exciting for us it is, and hopefully it's pretty exciting for you too. We do realize that collecting filing fees is only one of the many things that you do every day, and we're really pleased with the interest in attending this webinar to learn more about filing fees. So before I started working at the department, I worked in the private sector, and I remember when it was time to prepare documentation to get a project going forward, requesting a check for filing fees to send to the department was one of the last things that we did before we sent our applications off to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And at that time, I remember it was just like one of those last steps that we needed to do. I wasn't exactly sure why filing fees were charged or what exactly they were for. But since working here, I've learned that there's actually quite a bit to filing fees, and there's more to them than meets the eye. So we'll be covering that today. And we hope that this presentation will help you better understand the purpose of filing fees. And we are also very excited to share with you a brand new cash receipt system that we plan to implement in 2016, so not long now. And we're going to cover that today. So there will be a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So please hold any of your questions until then. And follow the instructions to ask questions that were sent to you in the invitation to this meeting. I'll just go over that really quickly. So the best way to ask a question is to send a message to Lauren P. Using the AT&T Connect webinar. You can do this by selecting the participants menu bar below the live video stream you see as me right now, and clicking on Lauren P.'s name and typing your question in the text box that appears. So then Lauren will read your question, and hopefully we will be able to answer it for you. We did talk about a different option about raising your hand in the, not literally, but in using the webinar features. But that might not work so well. We tested it this morning, and it wasn't as smooth as we would have liked. So really the best bet is to just send a message to Lauren P. If you're having any issues with audio or visual, please send an email to lauren.poland@wildlife.ca.gov, and she'll try to help you resolve the issue. Also, if you're joining by phone only, so can only hear my voice right now, please submit questions after the presentation to CEQA@wildlife.ca.gov, and anybody can send us questions anytime to that email address. And one last thing, this presentation will be posted on our website so that folks can view it later. And with that, we'll dive into the PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm on slide 2 right now, so hopefully you see that popping up on your computer. So the first slide is really just covering what CEQA is. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but just in case, we wanted to just provide a really brief overview of what CEQA is. So CEQA, of course, is the California Environmental Quality Act, and it applies to all discretionary projects proposed to be conducted or approved by a California public agency. California public agencies include local or state agencies, For example, counties are public agencies, the Department of Fish and Wildlife is a state agency, among many others. And the purpose of CEQA is really public disclosure of significant environmental effects of a project through the preparation of an initial study, negative declaration, mitigated negative declaration, or an environmental impact report. I'm sure you're all very familiar with those document types. CEQA purpose is to prevent or minimize damage to the environment, disclose to the public the agency decision-making process used to approve projects, to enhance public participation in the environmental review process, and to improve interagency coordination regarding environmental review. So CEQA is part of the Public Resources Code starting at Section 21,000. It's implemented through regulations in the California Code of Regulations, Title 14, starting at Section 15,000. And then because there are parts of CEQA that can be complicated and subject to some interpretation, there are ongoing court decisions that might help folks who implement CEQA to be able to implement it with more clarity. So that's just a real quick overview of CEQA. Okay, so I'm on slide 3 now. So one of the things that some folks think is that the Department of Fish and Wildlife oversees CEQA, and that is not the case. The reason for that belief out there sometimes is because we are the only agency that collects specific filing fees for CEQA document filings. But I'll get into that a little bit more later as to why that is. So the Department of Fish and Wildlife is actually only one of many public agencies that comply with CEQA. And in the image that you have here, you can see all of the different counties. Hopefully you see your county on there. And so all the counties are public agencies that implement and comply with CEQA. And then of course there's many other agencies, cities like the City of Redlands, the State Water Board, Department of Toxic Substances Control, the California Department of Food and Ag, and several others. And so again, we're one of just many agencies that have a similar role in CEQA. And the Department of Fish and Wildlife may act as responsible or a lead agency and is always a trustee agency, and I'll get into that a little bit more later too. So specifically, our department's typical role is to review project impacts on fish and wildlife, because of course we are the Department of Fish and Wildlife. CEQA, who enforces CEQA? CEQA is actually a self-executing statute. Public agencies are entrusted with CEQA, and its provisions are enforced as necessary through or by the public through litigation or the threat of litigation. Okay, so going on to slide 4. So why does the department collect filing fees when all these other agencies don't? So the department collects filing fees to cover its costs of managing and protecting fish and wildlife resources, including consulting with other public agencies, reviewing environmental documents, recommending mitigation measures, and developing monitoring programs, all under CEQA. Okay, I'm on slide 5 now. So again, why don't counties collect filing fees for other public agencies? Well, CDFW, as I mentioned before, reviews impacts on fish and wildlife. And because of that, we receive, as a trustee agency, thousands of CEQA documents each year. And because that's a pretty big workload, as you can imagine, the legislature authorized only the Department of Fish and Wildlife to begin collecting filing fees in 1991. As I mentioned before, there are other agencies review impacts on other environmental resources. cultural resources, aesthetics, air and water quality, noise, etc. Under CEQA. For example, the state and regional water boards review project impacts on water quality, but they don't collect a filing fee for doing so. So again, other public agencies do have a similar role in reviewing CEQA documents, but the Department of Fish and Wildlife is the only one that collects filing fees. And I mentioned that we are a trustee agency, and we are actually only one of 4 trustee agencies. The other ones include the State Lands Commission, the State Department of Parks and Recreation, and the University of California. And by a trustee agency, I mean that we are an agency that holds environmental, natural resources in trust for the people of the state of California, and for that includes fish and wildlife statewide. Okay, so I'm on slide 6 now. So the types of filing fees that we collect. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this. We collect filing fees when notices of determination, which I'll get into a little bit later, are filed for negative declarations and mitigated negative declarations and environmental impact reports. So this year, the fee for a negative declaration or mitigated negative declaration was $2,210, and the fee for an environmental impact report was $3,069.75. And this fee adjusts annually, effective January 1st. The adjustments are posted on our website, on the department's public website, on November 1st, prior to the year they become effective. The changes are based on changes in something called the implicit price deflator for state and local government purchases of goods and services. And I have no idea what that really is, but I do know that it's published by the U.S. Department of Commerce. It's readily available to see online, and our accounting department sends us the numbers every year. So feel free to look that up if you're interested. Very exciting. So on to slide 8. So other agencies that collect fees for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, filing fees specifically, include the State Clearinghouse. And the State Clearinghouse, as I'm sure many of you know, is part of the Office of Planning and Research. And they collect filing fees when state agencies file a notice of determination and pay the fee. So most often, counties collect filing fees, right? Because most of the time, a local agency is the lead agency, and the notice of determination and filing fee is provided to the county. But as I said, the State Clearinghouse also collects fees. In addition, there are documents under certified regulatory programs under CEQA. They're substitute environmental documents similar to negative declarations and environmental impact reports. And when such a document is prepared, those fees are submitted directly to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. So counties collect most of the fees. State Clearinghouse collects some fees for state agencies that file, and then much less commonly, when documents are prepared under a CEQA certified regulatory program, the fees are submitted directly to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Okay, now on to the fun part. Fee collection. So we're on slide 9 right now. So this is what you guys experience a lot, is actually collecting the filing fee and determining when it's due. So fees are due for all notice of determination filings. And so we have this little saying here that says, pay the fees for all NODs. And hopefully that will help you remember. It helps me remember. So again, a fee is required when all notices of determination are filed, with exception to if the notice of determination is accompanied by either a copy of a cash receipt for fees already paid for that environmental document, a notice of exemption, meaning that there's no environmental document that needed to be prepared, or a Fish and Wildlife signed no effect determination, which is basically something that an applicant requests of the department, that they say their project's not going to have any impact whatsoever, zero, on fish and wildlife resources, and then we give them a no effect determination if we agree and approve it, and then they can attach that to their notice of determination, and then you would not need to collect the fee. A fourth type of document that might accompany a notice of determination where the fee wouldn't be required is when addenda to a CEQA document is filed. This is kind of a common question, so I kind of really wanted to touch on it. So, if it's a supplemental environmental impact report or a subsequent environmental impact report are filed, then those require payment of the fee. But if an addendum to an environmental document is filed, then the fee is not required. And the reason for that is because addenda to a CEQA document are not considered a separate environmental document. So as I kind of just alluded to, fees must be paid for separate environmental documents, even if it's for the same project. So that includes tiered or phased environmental documents, or again, as I mentioned, supplemental or subsequent environmental documents. So when the filing fee is collected, as many of you know, the filing fee gets collected at the time of the notice of determination filing. And of course, unless accompanied by one of the documents I mentioned in the previous slide. And this part is pretty important. Without payment of the filing fee or one of those documents that I just mentioned, the no effect determination, the notice of exemption, etc., the project and the underlying approval for the project is not, and this is directly from the regulations, it's not operative, vested, or final, and must not be accepted by the county clerk. So, you know, most of the time, the lead agency and the project applicant, they're trying to comply with CEQA. They're filing the notice of determination to comply with CEQA. If they inadvertently don't pay the filing fee, and they find out, well, they filed a notice of determination, but that notice of determination is really not effective unless the fee is paid, then that would usually be a big problem for them. So it's typically it's in the project proponent's and the lead agency's interest to get that filing fee paid, and it's usually not a big issue. And another question that we get a lot is, well, what if the filing fee was lost? So the filing fee is due regardless of whether the filing fee receipt was lost or whether filing fees were applicable when the NOD was first filed. So one thing you might not know is that filing fees were not applicable until 1991. Actually, I think I covered that in an earlier slide. So it's possible, and it does happen sometimes, that a second notice of determination is filed for a project that was originally approved and filed before 1991. And so another agency needs to exercise some approval for that same project, and they're filing a notice of determination. So even if that's the case, a filing fee is due for the next notice of determination. In addition, I'm sure many of you have heard of the de minimis exemption. So that applied until, I think, 1996, 1997, and that is no longer applicable. So even if a project received an exemption from the fee through the de minimis exemption before 96, 97, and they're filing an NOD for the same project now, then the filing fee is due. So really the take-home message is if somebody's filing an NOD and they don't have one of the 4 documents I previously mentioned, then they should be paying the fee. So now I'm going to cover the county documentary handling fee. This is something I think many of you know all about, but I'll just cover it quickly. So the county clerk may charge an additional documentary handling fee of $50 per filing. This $50 amount is written into Fish and Game Code section 711.4. Recently, and thank you to the county out there that provided this important information to me. The County Board of Supervisors may increase or decrease this fee in the amount reasonably necessary to recover the cost of service. So that is straight out of Government Code section 54985. So sometimes, we get filing fee receipts, and they often go straight to our accounting department, and they'll say, they'll have the field that covers the county fee. It'll say $55 or $38 or $75, and now I know why, and you do too. Okay, so now we are on slide 12, and it's an exciting part because we're going to cover the brand new cash receipt for 2016, and I'm going to hand it over to Ryan Mathis to show you this new receipt.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ryan Mathis. I work with Melanie and Lauren here in the Habitat Conservation Planning Branch, and I want to go over the new filing fee receipt. Let me bring it up here. Okay, so everyone should be seeing a side-by-side layout of the current environmental filing fee cash receipt, which, and thank you for everyone's patience with transitioning into the digital version of this. I know a lot of you were used to the hard copies and the carbon copies of the filing fee receipts, and we're trying our best to get all the kinks out. And the intent here is to make filling out this cash receipt as simple as possible. So I want to show you some things that we have updated. And number one is the receipt number. The one you're currently using populates the county code and the year, and then it's up to each county to keep track of the sequential number. What we've done this year is for the receipt number, the county code will still be dependent on which county you choose from the drop-down menu. The next label is today's date, and then the next is the sequential number. Now, the sequential number will change every time that the form is saved and reopened. We are working on how to keep that locked and make it easier for you to keep track of the tracking numbers. So we're in a beta testing mode right now, and we will have all the kinks worked out by the time it's released in January. So a couple other things that we've added are, for lead agency, we've added a lead agency email. And the intent here also is to kind of mirror what the hard copy cash receipts, where you had a copy that go to the lead agency, a copy that would go to the project proponent, and then a copy to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I will get into that in a second, and hopefully everyone has transitioned into the digital age and has an email to receive those copies. So we added the lead agency email, we added the project applicant email, and you can assure these folks that they will not receive any spam email. It's only to provide a copy of this receipt to them. Here you're getting a sneak peek at the 2016 filing fee increases. It's not by much, but we will have these posted beginning November 1st. So most of everything else in the document remains the same, except for we're also beta testing here an ability to attach the notices of exemption or the no effect determinations. Before I get into the new feature, the submit feature, I'd like to scroll down and show you we've updated the we've also updated the instructions on the back of the document. And scroll down here. So the new one here just kind of reiterates a lot of what Melanie went over, Fish and Game Code, Public Resources Code. It has the explanation of the county documentary handling fee, which is really nice. That was something that that Melanie taught us here this year. Thank you to the county that pointed that out. It goes over the collection procedures for each of the counties, and it also talks about the submittal of the filing fees each month, when the filing fees are collected, and the form that's submitted to the state every month, the TC31. And it just kind of goes through a little checklist here on what needs to be submitted. So if we go back up, and I am remembering another item that is new to this, is the county documentary handling fee. We now have this available to each county to populate it with whichever fee the county comes up with. So here it's $55, but the user will be able to enter in whatever fee is appropriate, $75 or more or less. Okay, so that moves us to the submit button, which is new, and I'd like to show you what happens once you click that submit button. It's going to do some magic, and it's going to automatically bring up a populated email message. The two field here will not be Melanie, but feel free to send those directly to her. But it will be populated from the county it sent, and then to the general CEQA email mailbox. And if you notice here on the CC, it automatically populates the lead agency email and the project proponent's email. The next thing that it does here, and this is one of our, and this may change, but in a way to keep track of the receipt numbers is it'll, in the subject line, it gives you your county code, today's date, and the sequential number, and then it gives you the title of the project. And it'll attach the form completely filled out, and then it gives you a nice little message here that the project proponent and the lead agencies, if they are ever wondering what the filing fees are for. Again, we're in the testing phase of this, and we welcome any input from the counties to help make this filing fee receipt easier on your end. Please send, you can ask the questions at the end, or feel free to send those to the general CEQA mailbox, and we will try to incorporate those changes into the new filing fee receipt. And with that, I am going to pass this over to Lauren.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Lauren. I'll be going over a few slides with you, so give me a moment to get back to the presentation. I had this issue last time too. Oh, it's because more than one thing selected. Sorry about that. Okay, so next we're going to talk about record retention, which is an important thing, and I know we've gotten a lot of questions on that for the CEQA mailbox. So county clerks are required to maintain an electronic and a hard copy, both of those, for all environmental documents for at least 12 months. So this is an important thing to note, that it's not the responsibility of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to keep these lost. If they're lost by the proponent, any NODs, receipts, we're not responsible for holding on to those. So that might be an important thing that you want to note to the project proponent, so in case they want to file a notice of determination after these 12 months where you retain these copies, they'll still have it available and they can go on with their project. And the importance of you holding on to these records for at least 12 months is that they must be available for the Department of Fish and Wildlife for audit purposes. So the next step in this process is you're going to submit all of these records to the state treasury. So in order to do this, you're going to summarize and record the collected fees on a State of California TC31 report, and you must remit the amount collected to the state treasurer. So all of these forms are required to be submitted within 30 days of the month in which they are collected. So another really cool thing about this new receipt we have is that it enables you to export through this receipt to Excel so that you can more easily fill out the TC31 report. So it's going to depend on which PDF program that you have on your desktops at your offices. You may need to look up how to do this, but there should be some sort of function where you can use your PDF and export it to an Excel so that you can have all of this information listed for you. So we have a page available to show you what that might look like. Okay, so when you do export it, this is what it's going to look like, and you'll see that it has all the information that you input into the receipt. It'll have the receipt number on the left, state clearinghouse number if that's applicable to the project, lead agency, and then if you scroll to the right, you'll see all of the amounts based on what kind of documents they submitted to you. So what you can do is you can use Excel and the sum function to figure out how much money you've collected for all of these receipts, and you can input it into your TC31 report. Okay, so the next step after you create that TC31 report is that you're going to make a photocopy of it and you're going to submit it to the Department of Fish and Wildlife monthly. And a really important thing is to make sure that you have all of these documents attached. So these are all listed here. They're going to be on our website as well, which Melanie will go over with you, and they're actually on the back page of the new receipt forms as well. So you have a lot of places to check and make sure that you have all of these documents ready. So you're going to need copies of all cash receipts, including the voided receipts, which you will put most likely on the bottom of the new receipts, but it's still an important document to have. You're going to need copies of all no effect determinations, all notices of determinations, previously paid cash receipts attached to the appropriate notice of determination, all notices of exemptions, as well as the name, address, and phone number for all project applicants for which an NOD has been filed. And so you're going to submit all of these documents to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife at this address right here, which is also available on our department website, which Melanie's going to go over with you so that you have that handy for when you're submitting all of this. All right, and now Melanie's going to go over the website with you.
All right, thank you, Lauren and Ryan, for going over that information. And I was just realizing, or thinking about all of the documents that the counties that you folks submit to us on a monthly basis, and I just want to let you know that a lot of, you guys all do a great job of it, and we really appreciate that you do all of that for us and submit it every month, and we know that it's a task, so we really appreciate it. Just want to put that out there. Okay, so now I am going to go over our website, our public website, which I'm sure many of you have been to before, but I'll just do a run through of it real quick. Hold on one second. Okay. So now you should be able to see our website. So this is our CEQA environmental document filing fee web page. And as you can see, it explains here the reason we collect filing fees, which I went over earlier. And it explains or shows what the fees are, the actual fees themselves. See here, like the county clerk processing fee, and then it has 2 asterisks after it. So that's because, as we talked about, the county fee might change. So we do note that on our webpage. It talks about our annual fee adjustments, payment of fees, and also exemptions and no effect determinations. This here is a link to the no effect page. And you know, this would actually be good, in case you haven't been to it, it probably would be good for you guys to know about, because I'm sure applicants or project proponents, they might inquire if their project is exempt from fees. And you can, you know, one of the ways that they might be exempt is if they get a no effect determination from Fish and Wildlife Service. And I'm just going to click on that link real quick so you guys can see it. So this is our no effect determination webpage, and it pretty much tells the applicant all of the instructions of what they need to do to request a no effect determination from the department. And that's only for projects that have absolutely no impact on fish and wildlife. And then, as I said, the department will issue an approval if we concur that there's no effect, and then the NOD wouldn't require the filing fee. Most importantly for everybody, I think, viewing this right now is the instructions, of course, for county clerks. So I'm sure many of you have been here. So you click on that. And this website has pretty much all of the information, or at least most of it. All of the really important stuff that we're covering today is on this website. So all of the instructions, what to submit, how to submit it, where to submit it. Here's the address that Lauren went over. And then, of course, on the right-hand side of your screen under Forms, there's the TC31 report form, and then there's very importantly, the environmental filing fee cash receipt form, which Ryan just went over. So all of that is at your fingertips online. And we hope it's beneficial and useful for you. And if you have any suggestions or ways to make this more useful for you, please feel free to email us anytime at ceqa@wildlife.ca.gov. Okay, well that pretty much concludes the discussion on filing fees, and now we're going to turn it over to questions and answers. So let me get the...
Would you like to go to the frequently asked questions?
Oh, good point. You know what, before I do that, thank you, Lauren. Okay, so the website should still be up. I do want to show you that. So on our website, there is, under related links, there's an FAQ page. And this FAQ page is great. It actually helps me out in my job a lot because it has questions regarding filing fees that we frequently get, and I know you guys probably get quite a lot of too. And it has the questions and answers here for you. Like, who do I make the check payable to? Do I have to pay the fee if my project is statutorily or categorically exempt from CEQA? Do we need to pay the filing fee if the fee was paid for a previous document? Can you use a de minimis exemption? Of course, now we know the answer is no. Some of you probably already knew that, but here it is. So, yes, thank you, Lauren. This is a good link to know about. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint slideshow. And when we sent out we sent out a survey to you folks, and we also asked if you had any questions at that time. So we're going to cover 3 questions that came in through the survey, and then after that, we're going to open it up to everybody, and then you can ask any questions that come to mind. So the first question that was previously submitted to us is, can counties generate an alternative receipt form? And the answer is yes. If the receipt contains the same information as our department's issued environmental fee cash receipt form, and you submit it to us prior to using it, you can email it to us at ceqa@wildlife.ca.gov, then you can use an alternate form. However, there are benefits of using the form that we have on our website that Ryan just showed you. It keeps things a little bit more simple, and then also there's all of those automation features that he showed you and the instructions and all of that kind of good stuff. So, we encourage you to use the filing fee receipt that we have prepared for you, but if you want to use an alternate form, feel free to send us that form. And you should get if you do choose to use an alternate form, you should get it approved by us generally pretty much on an annual basis. The reason for that is that we might update our filing fee receipt form on an annual basis, and so you just want to make sure that your alternate receipt has the same information. Okay, so the next question, hold on one second, is who at CDFW can we refer an outside agency to regarding not accepting de minimis exemptions, even if the original project was filed prior to 2007? Well, I just showed you that frequently asked questions page on our internet page, and so that would be a great place to refer them to. The answer to that question is right on there. And, or of course, you can give them our email address. Our email address is also on our internet page, and they are very welcome to email at us anytime, and we'll help them out with this question. So I just wanted to restate that that we do no longer accept the de minimis exemption. It no longer applies as of 1997. Okay, and the third question, and then we'll open it up to everybody, is, and I think we've covered this a little bit, but I'll just go over this real quick. If the lead agency is not able to provide the previous receipt because it's been lost, but they have a copy of our cashier receipt, is it acceptable? So as we indicated before, we do need a copy of the cash receipt, or you need a copy of the cash receipt to file the notice of determination. And if they only have a copy of the cashier receipt, depending on the other type of documentation they have and what the cashier receipt information is, we might be able to figure something out. The problem is that cashier receipts often don't have the same information as the filing fee receipt. So it can be really hard to tell what specific environmental document and for what project that receipt was issued for. There's several entities out there that carry out multiple projects. So we need to be able to tie the receipt back to the environmental document and project it was for. And if we can do that, if the documentation is there to do that, then we can look at it on a case-by-case basis. But otherwise, and in general, really the filing fee cash receipt is necessary. Otherwise, the fee needs to be paid again. Okay, well, thank you all very much for joining. I know the topic of filing fees can seem dry, and again, it's only one of many things that you folks do, but hopefully you've learned today that there's actually a lot behind filing fees. They pay for a lot of really important stuff, like protecting this lovely burrowing owl that you see on your screen, and we really appreciate all of the help that you provide us to collect those fees, which enables us to carry out our duty to protect fish and wildlife. Thank you very much.